So I am privileged indeed to present two men who have brought America to a preeminence in outer space by their courage and knowledge and by their reports on what they found. I'm happy to present Oklahoma's own Tom Stafford and his fellow astronaut, Gene Cernan. Thank you.
Senator Monroney, Chairman Young, President McKee, distinguished guests, many old friends from Weatherford, and the people of Oklahoma. It is really great for Gene and myself and our families to be here as a guest of the Frontiers of Science in the Oklahoma City Chamber of Commerce. One thing I think the mayor forgot to mention when he presented Gene with this key was the fact he was presented a key to the largest city in the United States. I was in Chicago, and that has quite a population, but by and large, this is the largest city in the United States. It's undisputed. No, and again, saying the reception that we've received here is very heartwarming. It is really tremendous to see all the people turn out, and believe me, it is always a great pleasure to return to my home state. And I am particularly pleased to have this opportunity to attend the annual meeting of the Frontiers of Science. As you know, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration has a very sincere interest in your organization here, from Administrator Webb on down. I am impressed with the foresight that your first president had when he helped establish this organization, and he continues to display now as our administrator. I know that he is well pleased with the continuing progress that you are making in promoting science education in the schools. The National Aeronautics and Space Administration ranks high on the list of organizations who have a constant need for more trained scientists and engineers. Yes, your organization and mine have one goal in common, that of stimulating interest in scientific knowledge. As Mr. Webb has stressed, the principal product of the Space Administration is knowledge. And believe me, knowledge is power. The ability to do more creative and useful things in space, as well as right here upon the Earth, as Dr. Biko so amply described earlier today. It is impossible to really place a price tag on the value of new scientific knowledge, know-how, and engineering, and the advancement that we make through research and development. We do know that such documentation of this would stagger the imagination. When you and I pause to use our imaginations for this purpose, we realize we're now living in the most fantastic age in mankind. More history and more technical progress have happened in our lifetime than in the whole previous history of the world. A famous speaker on scientific progress stated that you can graph the first 50,000 years of man's technical history on a piece of graph paper approximately 4 inches high. But from 1945 until 1965, that graph paper would have to be equal to a building 13 stories high. Yet with this fantastic surge of knowledge, believe me, we have barely skirted the border of an ocean that reaches out into infinity. To you, and the Frontiers of Science, and the many other people who encourage our youth's interest in science, I'd like to mention a few items that our flights have contributed to space science and to the benefit of mankind. An example of this was the ability to rendezvous in orbit, which Wally and I did in Gemini 6, and which Gene and I also did 3 of in Gemini 9. This rendezvous is the beginning of transportation in space. No outer planetary manned probe will go there until we do a rendezvous around the Earth. We do not have this power available to us. It means going somewhere. In Apollo, the size of the velocity vector changes that we can generate for the first time will permit man to leave his orbit around the Earth and strike out for the moon, which is the first stepping stone in our great solar system. Now, as the performance of each individual flight is assured, the objective to bring back meaningful information becomes more important. During the Gemini 9 flight, Gene and I learned many things that were necessary to discover prior to entering the final phases of the manned lunar landing program. some of the things that seemed to go wrong during the flight really served as an indication to increase our knowledge along these lines. In addition to operating the scientific equipment, the crew members aboard the spacecraft were also able to make useful observations to select and interpret these observations and report them for the benefit of mankind. A good example of this was the fact that the country of Peru has spent 30 years making photo maps for geology surveys of their country. Due to the mountainous terrains of the Andes Mountains and the bad weather, after 30 years, at the cost of many people's lives climbing mountains and also pilots' lives, they have been able to photo map 19% of that country. We were fortunate and had good weather. In 3.5 minutes, Gene and I photo mapped 80% of the country of Peru. And these geological maps are turned over to their country, and they've been a great benefit to them. Also, we photo mapped approximately 70% of the whole Andes mountain chain. And this was rather longer. This took about 6 minutes. Another example is from the benefits of our flights. Gordo Cooper and Pete Conrad made a series of photos in the central Australian desert on Gemini 5. These photos showed some very interesting geological structure, and now oil exploration is going on based on the photos that they made during Gemini 5. So you can see that the scientific and engineering aspects of space travel are unending challenges to ourselves and also to the youth of our country. As Dr. Robert Goddard, the father of American rocketry, said, it is difficult to say what is impossible, for the dream of yesterday is the hope of today and the reality of tomorrow. You, who are encouraging our youth of today, know that your dream of yesterday is certainly coming true. And as you assist our youth, who are the hope of today, you can certainly rest assured that your work will bear fruit in the realities of tomorrow. As representatives of the NASA astronaut team, we'd like to encourage you to continue your great dedicated efforts. And to the men of the frontiers in science, a sincere thanks from our entire group. Now, I'd like to have Gene come up here and say a few words. You know, he kept accusing me of being an Oklahoma politician and always talking on a flight, you know. I told him I'm from the short grass country out in western Oklahoma, and we have produced a few politicians from out there, believe me. But my work is strictly scientific. I want no political office, believe me. But I want to introduce Gene to you. I've had the great privilege of working with him for 6 months. In fact, we flew together every place, and you just become like two brothers up there. And all through the 3 days of the flight, we worked with a great teamwork, and I know he wants to say a couple of words to you.